Okay, it's time to explain why people are really disappointed by the player count in Titanfall. I've seen a lot of people making irrational arguments saying this game's gonna suck now because of this, which is very untrue. But at the same time, I've seen a lot of people defend it who just don't get it and don't understand why people are disappointed. I'm coming at you from the middle ground where I'm disappointed, but I'm not completely irrational. I have reasons why I'm disappointed by the player count in Titanfall. Let me disclaim. I understand the importance of balancing. I understand that a balanced game is the most important thing you can do. And I know that these guys would have reason for doing this. I understand that these developers know what they're doing. Number two, I don't think bigger automatically means better. I know that there are games that could have 4v4 that are way better than Battlefield 4, and I understand that just because it's next gen doesn't mean it needs to be bigger. I understand this. And number three, I understand that you need to play it to fully judge the game and critique it. But I am just coming from you as a gamer, explaining why I'm disappointed by the player count in Titanfall. Number one, the supporting material leading up to the release of this game has been deliberately misleading and has misled people into believing that the game was going to be a much larger, epic scale. Okay? If you see a trailer that makes you think that something's going to be a huge, epic 64-player combat sort of game, and then you get told, oh, it's only 6v6 and the rest are AI, no doubt you'd be pissed, because you've essentially been misled, even though they never directly lied to you. This is what's happened with Titanfall. Most people assumed that all those players were people, and that is a fair assumption to make, because how often do you see a multiplayer game that is a Twitch shooter that has AI bots incorporated into the game design? Very rarely. And I'm going to go on record, AI are not as fun to verse as human beings. And if you're playing a game like Titanfall, where it's already apparent that more than half of the people in the match are AI, that is going to be misleading, and that is going to be really not as enjoyable as a human player. And that's just a straight up fact. Number two, the game's appeal to people like me was the epic scale. I understand that a game that gets marketed as being 6v6 could be just fine. But at the same time, that game was marketed, and the appeal for that game to play it is because you know that that's what you're getting. If you play Call of Duty, you know that you're only going to be getting 6v6. People understand that, and the game is designed around that. But the scale of Titanfall was the big appeal for a lot of people. They thought it was going to be big with lots of humans, which is what the games journalists don't understand. Like, well, I played it, it's just fine. But this leads me into my next point. People have a deep mistrust of game publishers, particularly EA, and a mistrust of games journalists. And you know what? I don't blame them, because so do I. I bought Battlefield 4, I pre-ordered it, and it was buggy at launch. I don't trust EA. And EA are publishing Titanfall, and they've already shown to us that they're misleading with their supporting material, and had this guy not asked the question, people wouldn't have found out the player count until they got the game. And at the same time, how come the games journalists never told us this? Even though they're behind closed doors, and even though they've played it, and know how many people would be playing, because they would, they never told anybody. And then they wonder why people get pissed off when we have to find out through Twitter the actual details about a game. And there's nothing irrational about someone like me cancelling their pre-order because they want to wait and see. I'm not dismissing Titanfall, it could still be a great game, but I'm going to wait and see. And to be honest with you, I'm still disappointed because I was drawn to the game because of its epic scale. And now that we found out that that's not the case, you can't blame people for being disappointed. I know that we need to play the game to do that. But how come you guys are able to judge the game and call it Game of the Year off of supporting material? I could say, hey, you can't judge it because you've only seen supporting material. Same thing. You can't use the argument the other way if you're going to do it yourself. That is hypocritical. Still, I'm disappointed by this, and I know a lot of people are too. We'll have to wait and play the game, but for right now, I'm just waiting and seeing. And I'm not going to watch any of the journalist reviews because they've already demonstrated that they can't be trusted either. I'm Fringy, and have a good one.